My friends were mocking my husband on a party, and when I laughed, he lost his mind and vanished. Have you ever been in a situation where your friends made fun of your significant other? I can't believe that I am now a divorcee just because I laughed when my friends were mocking my husband. Maybe I was wrong to laugh. I know that maybe I should have reprimanded my friends instead of laughing, but did I deserve to be divorced and left with a broken heart and regrets? I had never thought that one day I would find myself being one of my alpha husband's brutal revenge. You know, when you are too carefree, you end up doing things that would ruin your life and the second party's life. I didn't know what I was doing. I thought I was just having fun, but I guess the fun had me instead. A very small mistake took me back to the hellhole I thought I had left. I regret the day I made that mistake. My name is Matilda Meyer, female 42, and my husband is Philip Johnson, male 45. My husband and I lived a happy life with our 3-year-old daughter. I met my husband when I was a college student. We were both in the business department and had many overlapping classes, and we naturally became friends. You know, I never understood how I became friends with him, as he was always cheerful and popular with everyone. We began dating in our sophomore year and started living together 3 years into our working lives. From that time, I began to feel like I want to be with this person forever. So we rented a slightly larger, beautiful room when we moved in together. The time we spent discussing things like sunlight, kitchen positions, and furniture designs was also a lot of fun, and I still remember it occasionally. Later, we got married and were blessed with a beloved daughter 2 years after. Our daughter is very active and good at communicating with other children, even at a young age. She can invite various children to play together. As I said earlier, I am shy, so she probably takes after her father. Both my daughter and husband have beautiful smiles, and people naturally gather around them. My husband joined his father's company, and now he has taken over as CEO. At first, people questioned if he got a job through connections, and it was tough for him. But watching his honest and constant effort, people's perception of him gradually changed. When my daughter started daycare, the mothers living nearby who had children of the same age taught me various things. Thanks to them, even the shy me was blessed with mom friends at daycare. We've been living in the same place since we moved in together. But one day, because of my husband's situation, we had to move and our daughter had to go to a new daycare. It was sad to leave the town that we had so many good friends in, but it couldn't be helped. We were determined to do our best in the new place as a family of 3. And I was a bit worried if my daughter, who had suddenly changed to daycare, would actually fit in well in the new one. But my daughter did go to daycare happily even after the change. Seeing her making friends so easily in the new place made me impressed. It seemed like my worries about her fitting in were actually not necessary. On the other hand, it wasn't easy to make new mom friends at the new daycare. It seemed like I was the one who should have been worried. So one day our 3rd anniversary was approaching. I was the happiest woman. I mean, it was by grace that we had reached our 3rd year anniversary. My wish was for us to reach 10 years at least in our marriage. Little did I know that it would actually end at 3 years. So since our anniversary was coming, I had planned to make an anniversary dinner party. Philip and I didn't have many friends, only our friends from college and the mom friends that I had got from my daughter's daycare. I wanted it to be a surprise anniversary, but my husband beat me to it because he actually had the same plan in mind, so he presented it to me. The anniversary day came. My husband had taken our daughter to his mother since they asked for her to visit. Our love was so precious and pure. I just loved how we loved each other and did everything together. Philip and I had our fair share of ups and downs, highs and lows, but we have never given up our love. Even if there were things that were testing our marriage, we would always manage to get through everything. Yes, my husband has a short temper and easily gets irritated and angry, but he knew how to control it. It all began innocently enough, as these things often do. Our friend group had always been known for our playful banter and light-hearted pranks and jokes, but little did I know that one careless joke would unravel everything I held dear. It was a typical Saturday evening, and we were gathered at our usual spot, my marital home's backyard, sipping beers and swapping stories. As the laughter flowed freely, someone brought up the topic of superstitions. That's when it happened, the catalyst for the chaos that followed. In a moment of sheer spontaneity, I blurted out a ridiculous idea. Wouldn't it be hilarious if we staged a fake breakup between me and Philip just to mess with everyone? I chuckled, thinking it would be nothing more than a fleeting moment of amusement. Mind you, that time I was so caught up in the engagement with our friends to a point that I didn't see my husband's unhappy face. But the idea caught fire among our group. Before I knew it, we were all huddled together, brainstorming ways to make the fake breakup seem authentic. We planned every detail meticulously, from dramatic social media posts to tearful phone calls to friends. We decided to put our plan into action at that moment. My friends instructed me on what to do, so I did it. I then pretended to be distraught, posting cryptic messages on social media about heartbreak and betrayal. My friends and Philip's friends played along, offering comfort to our concerned friends and family members who were asking what had happened because they didn't know about the game. Some people were giving assumptions on what had happened. The game was full of fun, but little did I know that playing it was like playing with my marriage because it didn't end very well, and I regret ever accepting the challenge. At first, it was all in good fun. Our friends fell for the ruse hook, line, and sinker, offering sympathy and support. Imagine this. You're hosting a party at your house with your friends, having a good time, when suddenly they start mocking your husband. Instead of defending him, I found myself laughing along with them, not wanting to seem like I can't take a joke. My friends were mocking my husband, saying a lot of things about him on social media. Some say how my husband was a forward coward in college. Some were mocking his dressing style, saying that I had found him with no taste and sense of dressing and I helped him change his boring lifestyle. The mocking started from commenting on social media until one of my friends joked about how my husband was a mommy's boy in college and the fact that he had literally peed himself during the freshers' year orientation when he was asked to kiss some girl that was his secret crush. That took me to fits. It was so hilarious and funny, so I laughed and even asked my husband what they had said was true. But I didn't get any response or amused emotion, maybe. My friends continued making fun of my husband, teasing him about his quirks and all that jazz. And you know what? I couldn't help but chuckle along with them, thinking it was all in good fun. But little did I know my husband was silently seething, hurt by my betrayal at that moment. As the night went on, I noticed he had disappeared from the party without a word. He didn't even bid a goodbye to his friends. I didn't know what the matter was. Panic set in as I searched everywhere for him, realizing the gravity of the situation. I searched high and low, but he was nowhere to be found. It was like he had just decided to pull a Houdini on me. And let me tell you, trying to explain his sudden disappearance to my friends was no walk in the park. They were just as puzzled as I was, only to find out that he had gone out after he saw that I was enjoying the mocking moment that my friends were busy making. But as the days passed, I began to realize the gravity of what we had done. Philip grew distant, his once warm and affectionate demeanor replaced by a cold detachment. He avoided me, barely speaking more than a few words at a time. I tried to brush it off as part of the act, but deep down I knew something had changed between us. Finally, one evening, Philip sat me down for a serious conversation. His eyes were filled with hurt and disappointment as he confessed that he couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. He couldn't understand how I could joke about something as sacred as our relationship, and allowing my friends to mock him like they did. And instead of reprimanding them and putting them in their place, I laughed with them. I didn't understand why he was so worked up because the game instructions were clear. It was just a game, meaning we were just joking, but he took it to heart. We had a heated argument about what I had said during the party and what Mia, one of my friends, had said about him. It even affected our daughter. You know that kids sense tension, so my daughter also sensed the tension, and it wasn't nice. Philip was really at me. Even if I tried to apologize, he wouldn't care about what I was saying. He only cared about his daughter, and that was hurting deeply. I even decided to be a stay-home mom just because I was respecting him, since he wanted me to be a housewife. But we had spoken about that and came to an agreement that I would do only remote jobs. And he decided to do such an evil act on me. What did I do wrong to him? The way I was shuttered and disappointed led to not being a fully present mother to our daughter. Philip became like my housemate because we were no longer sleeping in one bedroom and we were like strangers. Days turned to weeks and weeks turned to months. So one of those days, Philip came back very early from work and he didn't look too well. I tried asking him what was going on, but he didn't tell me. Instead, he looked at me like I was the most disgusting thing he had ever laid his eyes on. I got really confused because I had thought that we had forgiven each other for the game that happened during our anniversary party, not knowing that the bastard actually found out that I had posted about our marriage and said I was no longer with him because of a game. So I asked him again, getting worried because he was not even happy to see our daughter, so I was wondering what may be the problem. Instead of answering, he just threw his phone at me. Then he started shouting, which is what I did despite him. He shouts like he is reprimanding a child, and that usually takes us to an argument. I looked at the phone that he had thrown at me, and I got the shock of my life. I couldn't even argue with him or deny it because the pictures, the memes, and the GIFs that were made by people on social media were before my eyes. I didn't know what to say, nor do you know. I tried apologizing to him, but he wasn't having it. He wanted me gone. He told me right in my face that he doesn't want to see me anymore, saying that I had made him a fool for far too long. I spent the whole week in the hospital because of the state that my mind was in. I had been getting sick every now and then. only to find out that I had lost my unborn child that I didn't even know about. My mind and heart was shuttered. A day before I got discharged from the hospital, my husband's lawyer came to see him. He left another envelope that I didn't even bother opening, but I took it home with me the next day. So when I had settled well at home, I remembered the envelope and opened it. The things the envelope contained left me in awe. My heart stopped for a moment. In the envelope, there were pictures of me and my male friend kissing each other, which is something that had happened a long time ago when he was still asking me out. It looked like we were dating. I couldn't believe how my husband had got the pictures. I didn't understand why he would send his lawyer to deliver the pictures to me, and I saw nothing wrong in what I did. In my world or mind, kissing was not and should not be considered as cheating. Besides, we were not dating because we started dating a week after. I mean, no feelings were attached. It was fun, nothing else. So after the pictures were delivered, the lawyer called me again, saying the divorce process had to come to a final decision and requested to see me along with my husband on a certain date. I honored his request and went to meet up with him and my husband. The only thing that made me agree to the meeting was because I had a lot of questions to ask my husband. One fateful day, the day of the meeting came and my husband was really divorcing me. And his reasons for the divorce were that he had lost trust in me, and I had not been faithful to our marriage. I didn't understand how I was not faithful when the kissing happened way before we even dated. The fact that I had allowed my friends to humiliate my husband in front of everyone on our anniversary celebration day. I thought he understood that it was just a game. It didn't mean anything. I tried defending myself on the mocking and pictures case, and the lawyer told me exchanging saliva or kissing another person outside my marriage is considered cheating, even if I had thought it was an innocent friendship kiss. But the fact that I had spent time and kissed another person in the name of friendship is cheating. I didn't understand how the lawyer could say that I had gone outside my marriage while I was not even dating Philip when everything happened. I begged him to forgive me. I cried and acted like a lunatic, but he was just not bugging. I didn't know that and never thought of it as cheating because me and the guy were only friends. I didn't take him as another thing and never thought of him that way. I loved my husband so much, but I guess the only thing I never did was respect my wedding vows and my husband. I didn't know, okay. One moment I was happy. The next I was devastated by an argument that we had about the joke. Well, a mockery that took place on our supposed to be special day and found comfort in alcohol. That alcohol led me to do something that I had thought I was doing it just for fun. I guess nothing stays in the dark, but I don't think it should have been a problem because it was something that had happened in the past. I felt so ashamed, doing things in the name of fun sometimes leads us to our downfall. I didn't know that laughing at what Mia said would actually be the end of my marriage. So I ended up signing the papers, meaning I was actually letting go of my husband, our love, our vows, and our family. I asked the lawyer what I was benefiting from the divorce, and he told me that I would be getting nothing rather than the house I was living in. So I asked my husband to unfreeze my accounts, and he told me that my accounts were fine. It was just that they didn't have any money. He then gave me a promise that sounded like a threat that he would destroy me just like I had destroyed our marriage and broke his heart. And I knew he was crazy, but I had never thought it was to that extent. How could he do something so evil to the mother of his child? As I had thought that was all. He then dropped a very large and a killer bombshell to me, saying that he was taking full custody of our daughter, and that I was not fit enough to be a mother, so he was taking full responsibility to our daughter. A few weeks later, he filed for full custody of our daughter, stating that I was not fit to be a mother. On top of that, he blocked all my bank cards that I had opened to put some savings for our daughter. Well, I didn't know about that until I tried swapping the card in the petrol station, so I called my advisor, and I was actually told that my cards were blocked. When I got home, I found out that he had actually taken my clothes and threw them outside. The doors were locked and changed, meaning I no longer had access to the house anymore. Mind you, that time I didn't have gas in my car, so I didn't know how I was going to get home from our marital home. I mean, didn't he or the lawyer state that I was not getting anything but only the house that I was living in? I didn't understand why Philip would do this while he was the one who signed that I would be getting the house. He should have mentioned that he no longer needed me in the house, not to state that I am getting the house. That meant that I had to go back to my hometown. Mind you, that time I had nothing on my name. My personal bank accounts were flushed, and the other one that I had thought would help me at least try to live until I get maybe a job was also blocked. For what, I also don't know. Philip's revenge or punishment was way too harsh that I couldn't even handle it myself. My ex-husband was evil and psychopathic. The signs were there, but I didn't pay any attention to them. I was so much in love and thought I had found my soulmate, but I found my worst nightmare and downfall. I couldn't believe that he did all that just because of a lousy kiss and the fact that I had laughed when he was being mocked. It wasn't like I was dating the guy, but he destroyed my life. All in the name of revenge for a kiss and mockery. A few months later, I had to try and fix my life bit by bit. Philip did a number on me, so it wasn't easy having to start afresh everything. Fortunately, I found a job as a waitress in one of the restaurants nearby. It was not easy, but I had to try and pick up life and better myself. I had no one but myself, so it was time to focus on me and do me. And the good thing was that Philip's parents had allowed me to see my daughter and spend time with her. I prayed every day for karma to visit Philip one day. It was a wake-up call for me, making me realize the importance of standing by your partner, especially in moments of vulnerability. So if you ever find yourself in a similar situation, remember to choose loyalty and love over temporary laughter, because you never know the impact it might have on your relationship. I vowed to myself to never fall in love again or have a crush on someone. I have learnt my lesson. I had realized that allowing my friends to mock my husband or my ex-husband and even laughed when they did was actually something that I shouldn't have done. Instead of standing up for him, I did something unexpected. I laughed along with them. But little did I know that would be the breaking point for my husband. As soon as I chuckled at one of their jokes, he lost his cool and vanished into the night. I was left feeling guilty and regretful for not defending him when he needed me the most. It was a harsh lesson learned that night. Sometimes laughter can hurt more. I should have known better than to allow anyone to mock or embarrass someone else because I knew how it's like to be mocked and laughed at. I mean, my cousin was also mocked when we were younger. She was mocked by one of our male cousins because of her skin color, comparing her with other people. She couldn't take it as a joke. It came as a very offensive thing to her, to a point that she was sad. She left the room that we were all gathering in. We had thought that she had gone to sleep, but when I went to her bedroom to check on her, I found a letter that she wrote with a heavy heart. Then she tried to commit suicide. Luckily, the doctors were able to flush out all the pills that she had consumed. That was the most traumatic thing I had ever experienced and seen. I don't know how I forgot about that and defended my husband. Was I too comfortable? A lot was going on in my life. I had gone to a very depressing state. Not only because I had destroyed my marriage, but also because I was actually denied any form of custody over my daughter. You know, that case took me from point 100 to point 0 of my life. My daughter is my everything, so I don't know how Philip thought I was going to live without my daughter. The way I was depressed, I found myself drowning in alcohol. I was drinking like I had no future or whatsoever. I must say that the situation that I was in was saddening. On the other hand, Philip was making by all means to make sure that I was suffering because of him. You know when a person says they were drowning in deep, muddy waters? I was that person. I was drowning in muddy water and I couldn't swim. I resorted to finding closure in alcohol. I became what my mother was when she was divorced by my father. At that time, I understood why my mother was an alcoholic. My life was down and out. I had lost the only person who showered me with love and care and gave me a very beautiful daughter. Now I had lost that daughter, plus something that was so dear in my heart. I was really depressed and wished to just go far away where there was no troubles and sorrows. 6 months later, my mother told me to stop having a pity party because it will not bring back the things that I had lost, including my daughter. But instead, it would take me straight to the morgue, and when that happens, I would not be able to fight nor see my daughter ever again. Those words made me think again about life, so I took the money that my mother had offered me to start something, but I wasn't sure of what to do, so I used it to fix myself. I went to the rehabilitation center for 6 months while attending AA meetings when I was inside. By the time I came out, I was a whole new person. I had discovered what my worth was and what I wanted. I started by asking for at least a joint custody of my daughter, which I got by the grace of God against Philip's will. I went through a very tough depression phase for almost a year, and I had thought I was going to lose my life in the process. Everything was too much for me to handle. But there was one thing I was proud of that I had done, and that was saving myself from the selfish bastard. I was glad that my mother came through for me when Philip threw out my clothes. However, from the ashes of despair, a newfound strength emerged. I resolved to heed the warnings of those wise enough to know better, to never put my safety and security on the line. With unwavering determination, I transformed the gaping hole within me into a source of motivation, giving rise to a vigilant and astute version of myself. I decided to start therapy, which is the first route to the healing journey, right? I had to make peace with everything for my own good. My mother found me a therapist that did house calls, and I was grateful for that because I didn't want to face the world, you know. I was somehow scared that Philip would see me or temper with my car tires. This time it showed that he was just obsessed with destroying my life. I couldn't leave my daughter alone. The therapy sessions went on for months because sometimes I would not want to open up, but I eventually got help and decided to stand up for myself. Philip had gone AWOL. No one knew where he was, but wherever he was, he managed to destroy my life and make me suffer. Philip knew that I was nothing without him because I had left my job to become a housewife. But now that things have changed, I have to look for something. I am the person who made rules for myself and never allowed anyone or anything to change that. I lived my life for me without looking for validation from others. But when I fell in love with Philip, all of that changed. I lost myself. I became his puppet, his submissive wife. I followed his rules and did everything the way he wanted to. All because of love and being committed to the relationship, even though it was not very much toxic, but I stayed and held on to the hot steel even when it had started to burn my skin. It's not easy being in a relationship whereby you have to compromise yourself just because you want to make your partner happy. It has never worked like that. I know that some would be surprised if I were to say that I still love my ex-husband and I miss him so much every day. My heart wanted me to fight for our relationship and find a common solution to the problem. But why try to help a person who doesn't need help? It was like he was somehow possessed by a controlling demon, so when it was an active mode of controlling him, he would want to be in control also. Philip was like a person who had multiple personality disorder, even though I can't and couldn't confirm it, but the way he was doing things, his manipulative and controlling tendencies seemed like he was pushed by something or someone to do it, to satisfy it. One thing I regret about myself was that I didn't or never gave myself enough time to learn more about Philip. I mean, it didn't take us too long to get married. From being friends to being boyfriend and girlfriend to being husband and wife. All of those stages happened within 1 year, if I'm not mistaken. Everything happened too fast, and I was blindly in love to notice anything on our dating stage. Though according to my own knowledge and perspective, I don't know what I was doing. I would say it was being ungrateful and not being able to be patient with my husband. I wish things were done differently. Yes, it's too late, but I regret every stupid decision that I had made. Now I have lost everything, and there is really no one to blame but myself. I don't know how I can fix all of this and get forgiveness for myself. I know everything showed that I did everything willingly, even though I couldn't remember that moment, but only God knows the truth. I didn't know that just one joke would actually land me where I am now. My heart had been stripped bare, devoid of the memories and belongings that defined my existence. Each room in my heart was an empty shell, devoid of life and purpose. Panic engulfed me as I realized the gravity of my actions. Desperation clawed at my throat and my heart pounded, sending tremors throughout my body. Unfathomable regret seeped through my veins as I finally discerned the reason behind the tragedy that befell my once cherished sanctuary. My foolish decision to ignore my husband's admonishments had paved the way for my husband to leave me and find someone else better. Every valuable possession, each priceless memento had vanished in an instant, leaving only an indelible emptiness behind. Broken, I sunk to the floor, tears streaming down my face, mingling with the remnants of my shattered dreams. The consequences of my recklessness echoed mercilessly in my mind, urging me to reconsider my choices. It was a sobering realization. My actions had consequences, and the price I paid was immense. Days turned into weeks and weeks into months. The memory of that fateful night haunted me, serving as a perpetual reminder of the naivety that had marked my path. The love of my life, the only person who had shown me genuine love and care, never returned, and I was left to my own devices to rebuild my life from the ruins. It always breaks my heart whenever I think of the way my relationship with Philip ended. I miss him, and if I was to be given a chance to rectify my wrongs to save my relationship with Philip, I would. Even though I still think he took a very dumb and cowardly move to end our relationship. He should have waited for me to come back so we would talk about everything and find a solution to our problems. I now knew that the story he told me about was true, and it had been haunting me ever since. Ever since that day, I still get shivers down my spine when I think about what Mia had said about my husband in front of him and on social media. I don't like them at the moment. I no longer want to see myself associating with any of them. They had taken the game way too far. I know that I shouldn't have procrastinated in the prank game because I am a married woman, or maybe I was. I should have thought of the consequences and outcomes of that stupid game. I know that I deserve every punishment Philip gives me, but do I deserve to be punished to have my daughter? I no longer want to visit her at her Nana's house, but I want her to come back and stay with me as her mother. Is that too much to ask for? Not only did Philip take away my daughter, but he also did something that I had never thought he would do, especially to me. You know the pain of going to the stores because your mother had asked you to buy some household items, but when you get out of the store, you literally see a big truck repossessing your car. Okay, I know that it was bought by Philip's money, but did he have to be this childish and make his baby mama suffer just because of a laugh and a stupid photo of the past? That time I had to call my mother and tell her what had happened because I had no money under my name, so she was supposed to get me at least an Uber back home. I would understand if maybe I had cheated or I was already in a relationship with him when I kissed my male friend. but we were not even an item at that time. Or maybe him taking me out meant that I was dating him? Philip didn't think things through. His short temper will be his downfall because he does things without thinking them through. I loved my ex-husband, heck, I still love him, but sometimes the way he handles things is just a red flag for someone who is the heir of the house. You know, when we planned the game, everyone was happy and agreed to it. I don't know when the problem started with Philip. Okay, the time I proposed the fake separation game, Philip was busy engaging with one of his close friends, so they didn't pay much attention to it. We did what we thought was fun, not knowing that I was only destroying my marriage. Philip got a clue of what was going on when Lisa, one of the daycare mothers, who are my friends, called for Philip's attention. Then she asked a silly question. Okay, cool. Philip laughed at that, but when our friend from college dished out his flops, he didn't find it funny. Maybe Dora, a friend from college, had gone too far because she was dishing out only embarrassing things about Philip. I know that I shouldn't have participated and contributed my laugh, but I couldn't help it. Then Philip lost it. That was the only fault that I had, but he chose to destroy my life and my reputation just like that. I would say that Philip was just being a crybaby, but I forgot the fact that I knew how it was like to be mocked, more especially in front of people who don't even know you that well. I really hope I have done things in a different way. Am I being a fool or naive if I say I miss Philip so much and I know that even our daughter misses him too? I had been thinking of visiting him in prison, but I don't know what I would say to him when I get there. Do you think I handled the whole situation better, or I was a coward and naive to allow Chris to destroy my life like that? Please advise me, so please help me find a way to approach both families about this issue. What do you say I should do? Please help me. Please help.